Good afternoon, listeners, and welcome to Talking Business with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Barbados, or ICAB. I'm Lisa Padmore, Chief Executive Officer of ICAB. Today's topic is something you may have heard me speaking about in the news recently, top-up tax. It may sound complicated, but don't worry. By the end of this episode, you'll understand what it is, why it has been introduced, and why it matters to Barbados. The corporation top-up tax, introduced in 2024, ensures that certain large multinational companies pay a minimum level of tax on their profits. That minimum has been set at 15%. If a qualifying company pays less than that in Barbados, an additional amount, called a top-up tax, is applied to bring its overall taxation up to that level. This measure forms part of a global effort to modernize international taxation. At its core, it aims to ensure that companies pay tax in the countries where they operate, reduce the shifting of profits to low-tax jurisdictions, and protect Barbados' tax revenues. The legislation reflects this clearly, noting that profits should be taxed where economic activity takes place and where value is created. It is important to be clear. This tax does not apply to individuals or most local businesses. It applies only to large multinational groups with annual global revenues of 750 million euros or more. That's just under $875 million at today's exchange rates. So, for the average Barbadian business, this is not something that will directly affect day-to-day operations. In simple terms, the tax compares what a qualifying multinational pays in tax with a minimum rate of 15%. If there's a shortfall, that gap is collected through the top-up tax. For example, if a company pays tax at an effective rate of 10%, an additional 5% would be applied to reach the required minimum. Companies that fall within the scope of the law have a few key responsibilities. They must notify the Barbados Revenue Authority that they are qualifying entities, file the required returns, and calculate and pay any top-up tax due. Under the legislation, notification is generally required within 12 months of becoming a qualifying entity. So what does this mean for us? Well, the introduction of top-up tax is an important step in keeping Barbados aligned with international tax standards. It helps to strengthen fairness in the tax system, protect government revenues, and maintain Barbados' standing as a well-regulated international business jurisdiction. Barbados is one of the early adopters globally to implement a top-up tax under Pillar 2, the global minimum tax framework developed by the OECD Inclusive Framework. While these benefits are important, there are also some challenges. Pillar 2 makes the calculation of taxes significantly more technical and complex. That is why ICAB and BIBA, the Association for Global Business in Barbados, recently held a joint workshop for taxpayers and tax agents and invited the Barbados Revenue Authority to make a presentation on the filing process. Another challenge relates to how Barbados has historically attracted investment through competitive tax rates and flexible regimes. With the introduction of Pillar 2, that advantage is reduced. As a result, some tax-sensitive investors have begun reassessing their locations over the past 12 to 18 months. This means that Barbados must now compete on quality, not just on tax rates. Quality of its public sector services, quality of its professional and business support services, and the quality of our workforce. Food for thought. So in closing, the key takeaways are simple. The top-up tax ensures a minimum 15% effective tax rate. It applies only to large multinational groups, and any shortfall is collected through a top-up tax mechanism. Affected entities must also meet specific notification and filing requirements. And for most local businesses, this will not have a direct impact, but it is an important part of how Barbados positions itself in the global economy. For more information, you can visit the Barbados Revenue Authority's website or contact them directly. Thank you for listening, and this has been Talking Business with ICAB.